They will make people look sicker than they are because there's an incentive. The failed audits of the Pentagon that get glossed over. That's a lot of your waste, fraud, and abuse margin right there.
Let's hop into another brilliant AOC takedown of MAGA and their attempts to attack our crucial, especially healthcare systems to afford their rich guy tax cuts. So if you can start by leaving us a like, it helps the channel out tremendously. We really appreciate it. And let's see what she has to say.
For months, we have been hearing the Republican majority talk about addressing waste, fraud, and abuse in our healthcare systems and in government systems writ large. One of the things I have found interesting in the discussions around waste, fraud, and abuse is that it curiously omits corporate waste, corporate fraud, corporate profiteering, and corporate abuse of public tax dollars all the time. And whether it's the failed audits of the Pentagon that get glossed over, whether it is the immense, and we've seen this, in plenty of oversight hearings on a bipartisan basis, defense contractors that are defrauding the public dime. But we have this in the healthcare space as well, particularly in the form of Medicare Advantage and what happens within Medicare Advantage.
I want to get into the Medicare Advantage stuff as that'll be the main focus of the video, but I do have to point out real quick, the reason DOGE fell 99% short of its goal in finding waste, fraud, and abuse is because of exactly what she's saying, because they ignore the places these things actually happen for the simple fact that it's the cronyism with the corporate or private sector that Republicans heavily indulge in that makes up most of it. And DOGE's goal was purely partisanship, right? It was not efficiency-based or actually finding these things, which is why they didn't find any. I mean, the Pentagon wasn't touched by DOGE. Oil CEO subsidies, not touched by DOGE. Million and billion dollar private contracts, including like the ones Elon himself has, not touched by DOGE. But at least we got rid of that woke USAID that was feeding starving children.
And these Medicare Advantage programs, the reason it happened, this unfolds in this way, is because they are run by for-profit insurance companies. Companies like Cigna, Humana, and United Healthcare. They will take public taxpayer dollars that are intended for caring for Medicare-eligible populations, and then they will take all of that money. They will make people look sicker than they are because there's an incentive to what is known as upcode, and then they pocket the difference because they will deny people the care that they need. Traditional Medicare, real Medicare, pays doctors and hospitals directly for the medical services they provide. Medicare Advantage is a middleman that denies people care, then upcodes them to make them to look sicker, and then they pocket all of that public money, they pocket the difference in their own profit to pay their CEOs and to yield shareholder profit.
And this is true with almost all private insurance, but nothing better clearly shows how publicly funded structures are so much more efficient at providing for people than private ones than just by comparing what happens to Medicare when you allow private interests in it. Medicare Advantage has significantly higher rates of denied claims. They have a 17% administrative cost compared to Medicare's, which is under 2%. They are more likely to send their patients to lower quality services like a 1 to 2 star home health agency versus Medicare's policy of 5-star with other corner-cutting measures from medicines to treatments. By all metrics, Medicare operates far more efficiently for the consumer and thus has much more greater downstream effects for society.
And then when people actually do need more care, private insurance companies under Medicare Advantage don't want to pay for it. And all of this adds up to private insurance companies under Medicare Advantage taking somewhere between $80 billion and $140 billion per year from the federal government that they then pocket in their own profits. That's a lot of your waste, fraud, and abuse margin right there. $80 to $140 billion per year.
It's hilarious because what she's talking about is both more than the measly $64 billion that DOGE was able to find and also actually waste, fraud, and abuse, unlike any of what DOGE found. Trump should have probably picked AOC to head the committee. They would have actually found something. That's what happens when you have actual adults in the room. Private companies probably should never be making money off of taxpayer dollars, but especially not to then turn around and provide subpar health services to seniors and deny them claims higher rates than the insurance you base your name off of to give yourself some credibility. I mean, it's a rather insane scam on one of the most vulnerable populations in America. But when you're a money-hungry Republican and you have money-hungry donors you got to please, then you'll stop at no lengths to make sure those profits roll in, even if it means denying Grandpa his chemotherapy.